and then you end up looking ridiculous. We can infer that Meghan picked this off of a rack of probably like 3 to 4, because like I said, she's not some big A-lister, she's not model-esque, so she wasn't
cringe to the max. And I must say, I just want to eat in peace.
Now, apparently Meghan Markle, her excuse for going to the show is that she's very good friends with the new head designer, Pier Paolo Picchi.
You can fake the smile, pose like a pro, and tilt your head just right for the perfect angle. But sweetie, you can't Photoshop a breakdown. And that's exactly what the world got a front row seat to. Paris Fashion Week, Balenciaga, flashbulbs, the glittering elite, and in the middle of it all, Meghan Markle.
What you're about to watch, and that's why it's so cringe. And I have to say, when you're talking about someone that has now rebranded, 2021?
Before she even lowered herself into that coveted front row seat, you could feel it, that air-thickening silence. A duchess stepping into the most cutthroat runway in the world should have caused chaos. Usually, cameras lose their minds. Fans scream like their lives depend on it. Someone always trips over their own feet just to get a shaky shot. But not this time. When Meghan walked in, Paris didn't scream. It stared hard. You could literally hear the click of someone's pen. That's how dead the energy was. Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it.
Do stuff like this. This is embarrassing. And what's even worse is the caption, Meghan Markle and Pier Paolo Picciolo share an intimate moment. And we know how Meghan is. You and I know.
And then, the dress. Oh, the dress. Because in Paris, fashion doesn't whisper. It screams your status. You either wear custom or you wear borrowed. And the crowd can spot the difference from a mile away. Guess which one Meghan picked?
2,100 times. This is supposed to be another rebrand. I mean, the first one that you're gonna watch.
Word on Rue Saint-Honoré spread faster than perfume in a crowded elevator. Meghan showed up in a borrowed Balenciaga gown. Sure, it looks stunning, but in haute couture, borrowed is basically like wearing a rental tiara to a royal ball. It sparkles, but everyone knows it's not yours.
Another way of saying obvious, but especially in a setting like this, where being discreet, being calm, all of that's very important.
The second she walked in, the insiders sniffed it out like blood in the water. A stylist leaned to another and whispered, "That's the PR rack piece." Translation? It wasn't made for her. It was pulled for her. And in that world, that's a monumental difference.
And what you're about to watch, I would have to say, is exactly who Meghan is. Exactly. Because this is so cringe.
Paris is ruthless. They can smell desperation faster than they smell Chanel No. 5. When real fashion royalty, Zendaya Bella Hadid, enters the room, everything stops. But when Meghan did, the pause wasn't admiration, it was confusion. Like, wait, who invited the Duchess of Discount? She sat down, trying so hard to look unbothered, surrounded by people who probably didn't even bother to watch her Netflix flop. She offered those polite, rehearsed smiles. They offered polite silence. It was giving stranger who accidentally sat at your brunch table.
Perfect. That when Meghan is put into a serious spotlight, a serious position to be a serious person in fashion.
Somewhere between the first pose and the second camera flash, it happened. You could almost see the confidence leak out of her. The woman who once dominated headlines was now fighting for relevance in a borrowed dress under borrowed light.
Going for Star Wars? Because I don't like it. I don't know anybody who did like it. Maybe pajama and blankie chic?
And then came the sting. One French editor reportedly sighed, "She's beautiful, but not Paris beautiful." That's the kind of insult that glitters like a diamond before it cuts like glass. Backstage, assistants snickered, models whispered, and a makeup artist rolled her eyes so dramatically I swear she could have powered the Eiffel Tower with that energy. Meghan probably pictured this as her Cinderella moment, the grand entrance, the cameras, the world gasping. But Paris had other plans. The fairy godmother ghosted. By the time the show wrapped, that borrowed dress wasn't a fashion statement. It was borrowed time. In Paris, when you wear someone else's crown, they don't see a princess. They see a guest trying to crash the throne room. If Paris Fashion Week had a soundtrack, Meghan's entrance would have been scored with the longest side-eye in history. No applause, just that "you showed up late to the group project" look. It started with one editor raising a brow, then a little smirk between PR reps, and then came the whispers. That ripple that spreads through a room like a secret, except it wasn't a secret. She actually showed up. And when Meghan started duck-facing for the cameras, jaws clenched across the room. One model whispered, "I thought she was here as press." Brutal. The Vogue stylist tilted her sunglasses down, scanned Meghan from head to toe, and gave one perfectly elegant scoff. Paris shade isn't normal shade, it's an art form. One glance can torch a PR plan. Her car didn't glide off to some chic hotel exit or celebrity safe route. Nope. It rolled right into the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. The same tunnel, the one that lives in the world's memory not as a location, but as a scar. The same tunnel where Princess Diana spent her last moments in 1997. In seconds, phones were up. Someone captured Meghan's car passing through that haunting stretch of road. That single clip detonated across the internet like a cultural grenade. No one cared about context. They only cared about symbolism. And Meghan? She didn't just drive through Paris. She drove straight into a legacy she could never control. Her team immediately rushed to explain it away. Coincidence, they insisted. Just the route to the hotel, nothing more. But Paris doesn't believe in coincidences. Paris believes in statements. And in a city where everything is staged and nothing is accidental, that defense didn't land. People dug up old interviews, old clips, old obsessions. The way Meghan had reportedly studied Diana's funeral tapes, underlined her biographies, mirrored her fashion, even quoted her legacy in interviews, and now she just happened to pass through the same tunnel. The world wasn't buying it. TikTok went nuclear. Side-by-side edits flooded feeds. Meghan's car gliding through that dark tunnel on one side, grainy 1997 footage of Diana's final night on the other. Eerie music, dramatic text, millions of views. Some called it homage, others called it disgusting. One viral comment summed up the mood. It's one thing to admire Diana. It's another to recreate her ghost. The backlash was instant, raw, global. Even people who usually defended Meghan were quiet, and the silence was telling. The tunnel isn't just a place. It's sacred ground to millions who still mourn Diana. Driving through it with flashbulbs trailing behind felt like a performance in poor taste. And Meghan's team? Furious at the speculation. But speculation was already a wildfire. In Paris, people don't forget. They remember the flowers, the vigils, the endless silence that followed that night in 1997. So when Meghan smiled faintly in that car, passing through the same tunnel, it didn't feel poetic. It felt like the wrong kind of spotlight. As the footage spread, so did the comparisons. And those comparisons were not kind. Meghan had spent years painting herself as Diana's echo, the misunderstood royal, the woman hunted by the press. But now the narrative was slipping from her perfectly manicured hands. British commentators jumped in fast. "This isn't homage," one columnist wrote. "This is hypocrisy dressed in couture." Because here's the kicker. The same woman who condemned the media's role in Diana's tragedy had struck multi-million-dollar deals with CBS, the same network that broadcast Diana's final hours to the world. Receipts started flooding in, old interviews, behind-the-scenes deals, contracts. Her Oprah tell-all, produced and distributed by CBS, was suddenly being dragged into the spotlight like an old ghost she couldn't outrun. And the internet never forgets. Viral posts screamed, "So she blames the media for Diana's death," and then signs with the media that milked it for ratings? Thousands agreed. Even Harry's circle, normally loyal to the end, was allegedly uneasy. Whispered insider leaks claimed he looked visibly uncomfortable about the tunnel moment. He knows that road. He knows what it means. And Meghan, whether intentional or not, she'd lost control of the narrative in a single drive. 3 days into Paris Fashion Week, the energy around Meghan had changed completely. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were shrugs. And in the world of fashion, being ignored isn't just embarrassing, it's lethal. Designers didn't approach her. Stylists didn't whisper her name. Invitations? Crickets. The cameras still flashed, but the hunger was gone. The thrill had evaporated. She was no longer a headline. She was a has-been guest in borrowed couture. Witnesses started noticing it in the small things. On day 1, assistants fluttered around her like loyal butterflies. By day 3, they disappeared. The seat beside her at a luncheon, once reserved for a designer, stayed awkwardly empty. And then, that photo. Meghan, standing alone in a gilded hotel lobby, in borrowed Balenciaga, clutching her phone, the crowd flowing past like she wasn't even there. Paris didn't need to say a word. That image screamed. Within hours, the picture was everywhere. And next to it, clips of Zendaya laughing with Valentino's creative director, Rihanna glowing in Dior, Kim Kardashian surrounded by Balenciaga's team, and Meghan, alone, beautiful, but completely, utterly out of the moment. One of these women was invited, one caption read. The other borrowed the invite. Cruel, but devastatingly effective. Paris doesn't scream when it cuts you. It whispers. And those whispers are deadlier than scandal. For years, Meghan built an empire on visibility. But in Paris, she became invisible. Photographers slowly turned their lenses away. Red carpets rolled on without her. Vogue didn't mention her name. Designers didn't nod. The silence was surgical. Her team scrambled to spin it. She's keeping a low profile, they said, intentionally quiet, but everyone could see through it. Paris wasn't ignoring her because of strategy. Paris was ignoring her because it simply didn't care anymore. That's the thing about glamour. It fades fastest when no one's looking. She had once spent years aligning herself with Diana's light, but now that light was blinding her. Paris wasn't seeing a princess. It was seeing an imitator. And behind closed doors, it started to crack her. Inside her hotel suite, the mood wasn't glamorous. It was tense. One assistant knocked to deliver something simple, room service. And when Meghan opened the door, mascara was smudged, hair undone, eyes swollen. She whispered, "Cancel everything." She meant it. Interviews, appearances, a planned photo op to reset the narrative, gone. Her team, pure panic. They'd seen her stressed before, but this was different. This wasn't a PR crisis they could fix with lighting and captions. This was a woman emotionally buckling under the weight of losing control. By morning, stylists found her pacing. Eyes red, phone in hand. She wasn't scrolling through news, she was refreshing it, over and over. Every meme, every cruel caption, every "she doesn't belong" post. "She's turned on me," she murmured to no one in particular. And just like that, the Duchess, who once controlled the story, had become the story everyone else controlled. The minute the Paris tunnel clip exploded, her PR team went into full-blown emergency mode. Phones ringing, assistants pacing, emails flying. One insider said it felt like a royal crisis without the palace. At 3 a.m., her publicist reportedly jumped on a Zoom call. "We need to get ahead of this narrative," they urged. Translation: spin it before Twitter buries her alive. First strategy: sympathy. A close friend leaked that Meghan was deeply hurt by the online bullying, but the internet didn't flinch. "She's hurt?" one user mocked. "We're still recovering from that Balenciaga dress." Second strategy: empowerment. Her team crafted an Instagram caption dripping with resilience. "Even when they mock you, keep shining." But instead of inspiration, it gave delusion. Comment sections lit up like a Christmas tree. "Sis, the light went out in Paris," one top comment read. By day 3, the PR strategy was officially in shambles. Brands that once begged for her presence ghosted her like an old situationship. Designers who smiled politely on day 1 suddenly had other commitments. Then came the ultimate humiliation. A late-night host cracked a joke about her protecting children online from herself. The audience howled. She had officially become pop culture's punchline. Paris didn't destroy her image. Her reaction did. The trembling hands, the silent stares, the panicked PR. It was too real, too human. And in Meghan's carefully curated world, reality is the one scandal she couldn't airbrush away. When the hashtags died down, when the gossip cycle moved on to the next it girl, Meghan was left with something she hadn't felt in years. Silence, not applause, not outrage, just that cold, echoing silence that settles when the world has decided it's done talking about you. Her phone, once buzzing with pings and praise, turned quiet. No deals, no "let's talk." Just a few pity texts from people who didn't want to be caught in the fallout. Inside her Montecito mansion, it felt like déjà vu. Curtains drawn, staff whispering, Harry retreating into his office, and Meghan endlessly scrolling, watching her Paris disaster replayed in slow motion. Vogue didn't mention her name. Balenciaga's next front row list didn't whisper a single letter of it. Editors declined her new op-ed pitches with polite emails that screamed, "Your brand is radioactive." They call it a cooling period. The rest of us call it the fade-out. The media didn't cancel Meghan Markle. Worse, it stopped caring. And for someone who built her empire on being watched, adored, talked about, dissected, being forgotten wasn't just a setback, it was the final humiliation.